people who love Fani Willis say, hey, you're just going after a black woman. And she has a right to have a life, and thank God she stood up for her, and her father, John C. Ford III, came in, a civil rights icon, stood up for her. And others say, this has nothing to do with race. This is about the law. I mean, you're giving us facts today that your client wasn't even recommended for indictment by a special grand jury. What do you say to people that are opposed to it because they think you're racist?
I'm happy that the people that know me know that is ridiculous.
And so, I'd attest to that. It's ridiculous. Right. Go ahead.
And so while it's extremely hurtful to hear someone say that, at the same time, the legal community knows me. And I mean, I have devoted my entire career. I was a public defender. I worked at the Southern Center for Human Rights. We do a ton of pro bono work. It's like, it's astonishing that someone would allege that. And I know that it's political. And I think saying racism is definitely linked to politics, but it's reckless to say something like that, particularly when John and I do, his entire practice is civil rights. So, we are pillars in the legal community, I believe, in the advancement of civil rights. And, so it was very shocking for someone to say that because it's not true and everybody knows it's not true. So it was clearly just something to get airtime.
Yeah, wow. And the thing that I think aggravated it even worse in my mind was that church speech. I'll call it a speech, but why I think it's even worse than if it were a speech. She said what she said about race and the fact she lied outright, saying she paid everybody the same amount, but that's another aside. But the race issue, she's giving in the form of a prayer.
And I hired one black man, another superstar, a great friend, and a great lawyer. Oh Lord, they're gonna be mad when I call them out on this nonsense. First thing they say, oh, she gonna play the race card now.
She is including the Lord's name, and that is just so outrageous and wrong. But for her, apparently, just another day at the office.
Well, and, she's Catholic. She went to Catholic schools. And so she's giving this speech, not at her home church, and giving it in a way that almost sounded political. But I think what bothered me the most as a defense lawyer is she is telling a very public national TV audience that God told her to prosecute this case, and that the problems, me bringing up her indiscretions is something that God has to give her tools to deal with. Condemning someone and saying that God is the one that caused you to bring a case, how do you deal with that when you're trying to address a jury? Well, she has God on her side. He's the one that told her that my client is guilty and that she should bring these charges. That is, nobody says stuff like that. That's just, you can't. How do you defend against that? And so that was one of the things, outside of the racism comments, that was one of the things that shocked me the most, that she's saying this as a prayer, Jesus, help me figure out how to deal with these racist folks who are challenging me when all I'm trying to do is your work. That's essentially the theme. I don't know who would have advised her to do that. I think that was forensic misconduct. And that's one of the grounds that we have in our appeal, because, I still think that speech was inappropriate, it was illegal, and it should in and of itself be grounds for disqualification.